What a great story. Video of a confrontation at a California convenience store. It's going viral this morning. Witnesses say it all began when a man and woman tried to... And a Texas teen gets something a little more embarrassing than a mugshot after stealing from his boss. Overnight, and while you were sleeping, gamers were lining up for Nintendo's retro gaming console. KFOX 14 Morning News reporter Marcel Clark is live at Best Buy to show us how campers are holding up after a very long night. Cold as well. Marcel. The former governor of Kentucky was seated in a small diner in Lexington, and that's where Beshear called on Republicans to honor the intent of the health care reform law. Well, this just in, a helicopter involved in the avalanche operation in Italy has crashed. Officials say the helicopter was carrying an injured skier off of the slopes. There are at least 6 people on board, including medical personnel. This is the latest tragedy to hit a region already slammed by recent earthquakes, heavy snowfall, and that avalanche. The El Paso Department of Health announces its 6th West Nile case this year. And experts say people living in the borderland shouldn't put away their mosquito repellent just yet.
Change up their game plan.
A new slogan, a new food menu, all expected to hit the Sun Bowl. And you can expect more community engagement too. A Minnesota dad receives the ultimate Father's Day surprise from his daughters.
The Minnesota Vikings fan thought he was just getting a special Hall of Fame tour at U.S. Stadium.
And the world's largest rubber ducky is making a waterway in Canada her own personal bathtub for the next few days. 33rd annual International Kite Flyers meeting is now underway in Denmark. 5,000 kite flyers from around the world. And we have breaking news for you right now. A developing story out of El Paso's Upper Valley. This is an actual photo from the scene right now. First responders are there investigating an incident on the corner of Montoya Drive and Rio Valle. I have a closer look for you here as well. Heavy police presence in this area, as you can tell. At this time, we're working to confirm what's happening. KFOX 14 Morning News reporter Amy Lacerio is on her way to the scene. Stay tuned. She'll have a live report in the moments to come. Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto is facing growing pressure to cancel his trip to Washington next week to meet with Mr. Trump. He addressed his country in a video statement posted to Twitter. And calls for unity continue on Capitol Hill in the wake of Wednesday's shooting at a Republican baseball practice. And President Trump is set to unveil a new Cuba policy in Miami today, a policy that's expected to reinstate some travel restrictions to the island. Good morning, guys. We're at the Wyndham Conference Center just across the street from the El Paso International Airport. And in a few short hours, U.S. Senior Senator John Cornyn will be taking this very stage that you see behind me. He's going to be the featured speaker. Thanks, Kinalay. Well, New Mexico State University has received $4.5 million in federal grant money. The grants are for the officials with the UTEP Athletics Department are packing the upcoming season with all sorts of promotions, and right now they need your help.
The roadways here on Doniphan have been cut down to just one lane in both directions. The area saw heavy flooding and hail last night. The aftermath of that is what we're seeing this morning. This incredible ponding extending all along the shoulder of Doniphan. We're just maybe a quarter mile away, if that, from La Mesa. And as you can see, I'm standing on the shoulder right now between the roadway and the businesses. And I talked to business owners here who actually told me that this happens all the time. They don't foresee the city coming out and cleaning it up. And when the water evaporates, there's so much mud here that it's still hard for customers to get in and out of those businesses.
The Ohio State University student who carried out the knife attack said in a Facebook post that he was, quote, sick and tired of seeing fellow Muslims killed and tortured. Investigators are now taking a closer look at Artan's Facebook page to try and figure out a motive. 5 people have been arrested for allegedly planning bombing attacks in Melbourne. And the death toll is still rising after the explosion at a fireworks market in Mexico.
Authorities say the number of dead has now risen to 35.
And those who work outdoors are facing some intense temperatures this week.
KFOX 14 spent time with some roofers who say the heat.
Here's a look at the Jumbotron. This picture right here with the warning message. And just tell me, if you're in this situation as a fan, what's the right thing to do?
You know, it's a little scary being in a stadium.
Well, that certainly makes sense. Those pictures that I just showed you, both of the players and the majority of those officials and staff down on the 30-yard line, close to the sidelines, and that's where they remained. Now, fortunately, in this incident, there were no injuries to report. Earlier this week, the Washington Post-Express took some major heat for this. This is the newspaper's cover story on the upcoming Women's March in Washington. There's just one major goof. The paper switched the symbols for male and female, suggesting that the Capitol Hill protest would just be a large gathering of men. Look at what's happening in the NCAA tournament. Those in the Atlantic Coast Conference waking up this morning with a lot of explaining to do. Arguably touted as the best conference in the country, the ACC sent 9 schools to this year's tournament. But after the past weekend, only one is left standing. It's not a gig you'd expect someone to give up without a fight, but longtime Cowboys quarterback Tony Romo did just that to an NFL rookie, no less, with a speech that has left the social media world gasping.
I'm not going to allow this situation to negatively affect Dak.
And then, of course, this one right here with the image of the Saints quarterback tossing the L, going long is what this caption reads. But I think you're going long for the loss on that one. You can pretty much make the argument these days that the NBA has become the most fashion-forward sports league. And last night there was one guy who stood out for a couple of reasons. First of all, he was the #1 projected pick.
With the first pick